Now in this tutorial I'm going to show you the load s command. This loads a string, but we're mainly going to focus on load sb. This loads bytes. Um, you have in assembly you have a whole bunch of different things. You don't just have bytes, which you see a lot. You also have words, and I think it's double words or something like that. Maybe it's D word, which means double word. Um, so there's like load string byte, load string word, load string double word. We're mainly going to focus on load string byte. But before I show you that, I want to show you a little function real quick. 09 or 02 mov dl 33 int 21 int 10. You should already know what this will do. This will display the 3 character. See, it displays the 3. But there's also another function just like this. It's 0e. This one's important to know because this one it takes the interrupt 10 and instead of DL it takes AL. But besides this, it's the exact same thing. So now look. See, that says 3. It's the exact same thing. E0E is the exact with the 10 interrupt 10 is the exact same thing as 02 with interrupt 21. The only difference is it takes AL instead of DL, and you will see why this is important. So let's move into SI 200, which is defined as dog, and as you see there's no $sign, it's a 0 terminating string. $signs terminate strings when you call on them with the 09 function, but they don't always terminate strings. Like when you wrote a file, those required something called 0 terminating strings, and those terminate with an empty byte, which is 0. So move SI 200. So now load SB. Now we're not going to define AL. Let's just go ahead and see what this outputs, and I'll explain it. This outputs a D. The reason is because load SB is load string bytes. It loads 1 byte from your SI register, and then it moves that byte into the AL register. So since it loads SI's dog, when it loads 1 byte, it loads a D, and then it moves it to AL. And since we didn't put anything in the AL register, we didn't have to, because this already defines the AL register as the byte. But let's see what happens if we write load SB a second time. CLS, test. It's going to say, oh. The reason is because every time you call on load string bytes, it's going to increment 1. So the first time you call on it, it moves into AL the first byte of SI, which is D. Second time, the second byte, O. Third time, G, which is dog. So now, what we can say something like this. Let me just go ahead and go with this real quick. Let's display the string that doesn't have a $sign at the end, but an empty byte. We can say move SI 200. Let's define SI. Now jump 110, A 110. Or what we could do is make 110 a little function to display a string, and we can call it. And then let's do 08 int 21 to pause it, and int 20. So we're going to call on A10, and we're going to execute this like a function. So we already moved into SI before we called it dog. Now what we're going to do we're going to load the string byte, the byte of it, and then we're going to compare it AL, which is what it returns, with 0, 0, and if it's equals, go to 130, and then, but if it's not equals, then we're going to display AL, and then we're going to jump back to 110, and then at A130, we're going to return. Now this may look complicated, but it's not very. We're saying, okay, we're going to have it in an endless loop, and the first time it's going to load at D, and then it's going to say, is D equal to an empty byte? It's not going to be, so it's going to use this to display D. Now it's going to repeat and jump to 110, and now it's going to load SP again, and that will increment SI. So now it's going to get O, and now it's going to display O, because that's not equal to 0, 0. But next time it's going to be G, but then once it hits 0, 0, it's going to be, AL is going to be equal to 0, 0, so it's going to jump to 130, and then that's going to return. And remember, return return goes with call. It calls like a jump with a string attached to it, and return just says now pull the string and pull me back to where I was. So call just executes all this, so that this will display your string you defined with SI, and now we're going to pause it. So this should display dog. CLS. As you can see, it displayed dog, waits for a key press, and I press a key. So you can also maybe put a $sign in there, and the hex for a $sign is 24, so you can replace that with 24, and then we can say CLS test. Now also display dog, because it's going to keep on loading SB until I get to the $sign. And then once it sees the $sign, which is 24, it's going to end my writing the code. So load SB, you can use that instead of saying like BX plus SI every time, and then like add SI1. Load SB will kind of do that for you. Load string bytes. Later on in the tutorials, I'll get into words and double words, but we're not going to really get into that in this tutorial.